welcome to the Season 2 Retrospective. My name is NJ Schultz. Yeah, I do too much in the podcast and yet not enough. I am your writer, your producer, like 80% of the actors. It's my passion project, but here we are. Excuse the quality of my voice right now. I'm currently getting over a cold that just hit me like crazy, but I wanted to get this out to all of you. It's so exciting that we finally made it through another season. I can't believe it's gotten this far, but there's been a lot of interesting challenges and a lot of interesting things that have popped up along the way, and I just wanted to get started with it with all of you. So, let's go over some of the pre-production stuff. The changes from Season 1 to Season 2 have been interesting. We had a different change of pacing, of feel, of just a general plot moving forward. I feel like a lot of Season 1 was focused on creating a world and just kind of playing with all these different concepts of seeing, okay, what do I like? What do I want to keep moving forward? What maybe is only going to get mentioned once or twice? I mean, you can definitely see moving forward from 1 to 2 that there are a lot less references to the other podcasts and other things that have influenced me. And a part of that's intentional. I mean, at the time when I was writing Season 1, I had only a vague idea of what I was doing, and I was relying a lot on just learning from what other people have done and really throwing myself in and seeing what works. And some of it I'm proud of. If I could go back and do it again, I don't think I would have referenced as many things, and you can definitely see it going forward. Like, the first season was just exploring, building up a world, seeing how to podcast. And I feel like the second season has really been Dreamgirl's chance to establish its own voice and figure out a narrative. Now, the big trick with what to do with the plot of this season going forward was, alright, where do we want to go with this? Because in my original notes and the original outline that I had the concept of setting, of just like this big, beautiful, dreamy city, and then I had like a huge underlying lore thing that I wanted to get to eventually. And well, it's not the type of thing you can just jump into right away without building up to it. So the thing is like, okay, we're here. We have a few pieces in place. Now, how do we get to where we want to be? So I spent hours at a time just drawing out little conspiracy boards, little maps, trying to connect bubbles together to figure out where we want to go. And that's really where the concept of Bella Jewel started to spiral from. The whole idea of like, alright, who came before Blade and Marina? How did we get here? How did she happen? And that's really where the fun started going for the entire season, and everything else just sort of built around that mystery of like, okay, who is this girl? What did she find? And what's going to happen because of it? And it really allowed the elements that I'd set up in Season 1 to be integrated in, while also taking in the aspects of what I want going forward. So yeah, let's discuss Bella Jewel a little bit. Long ago, 2017, I was living down in Tucson, Arizona, and while I was there, I had the pleasure to meet this family, and they had a pretty cool older daughter, and her name was Isabella Julie, and they just called her Bella Jewel, and for whatever reason, I thought that was really cool. The whole idea of Bella Jewel is that I wanted somebody to be on the press, kind of like a proto-Blaine, but would have gone further, you know, and I also wanted something that would tie into the theme of this season, which is ghosts, for some reason. The first poem that I wrote for Season 2 was about ghosts. That just is the theme that kept popping up and up over and over again, of haunting, of things that are left behind from those that came before, just ghosts. So, I wrote her to be kind of like Blaine, but a little bit more reckless, a little bit more pushing away, where you see Blaine just run off to do their own thing, Bella Jewel has actively pushed people away, and as a result, that got her killed. As opposed to Blaine, who isn't quite to that step yet. Her voice really centered around that, which I tried to give her a similar bounciness and playfulness to Blaine's voice, and also a little bit of a different tone that's not used before. Out of all the characters I play, she is the closest to actually sounding like what I normally talk like on a day-to-day basis, which was a little surreal for me, but I think it won to great effect. I also love how she brings out a different side of Rex Adams and connects him more into the story as opposed to just being the funny little sideshow. I mean, as much as I love Rex being the funny little sideshow, it's great to have him just connect in with whatever the heck Blaine and Marina's doing in such this big way. Side note, can we just acknowledge for a moment that it's kind of sad that all of the women in Rex Adams' life that we know of so far just sort of emotionally traumatize him. Like, every single one. His mom left him, he's divorced from a woman, and now Bella Jewel. It's just... I don't know what that says about me or my writing style, but there you go. And well, speaking of funny little side characters that are related to Rex Adams, let's talk about Jack for a little bit. Let's call this section funny little side characters and bits that I didn't expect to turn into a thing until they actually did. So, my entire thought process behind Jack Wright was to have a funny little foil on the side of Rex Adams. So you just have like this sad radio man just going through his day, just trying to make it work, and in the background his assistant is just like summoning Cthulhu or something and just going off. It was a funny thing until I really started playing with it, and then I dug deeper and I found there's a lot of interesting stuff to be done here, as opposed to just a horror character who's mentally stuck in the year 2015, and as long as we keep referencing stuff that came out that year, we'll be fine. He started out that way, but then through asking questions and playing with a lot of the character stuff, he really started to grow. I think it was episode 31 where Blaine's going through his journals and you really start to see some of that scary stuff pop up, where I really started to take him seriously. He's really developed into his own thing and a major player in what's to come. Moving on with our fun little cast of quirky jokes that turned into real things, the Cozy Congregation of Sasquatch and the Church of Mothman. So, I'm going to start with the congregation first. I had a funny, salt-of-the-earth preacher voice that I wanted to use for something. And that whole idea kind of combined with this joke that was going back in high school of people worshiping Sasquatch out in the woods. I lived in a small town, out by a bunch of mountains. It was an interesting time. But that idea kind of combined to like these soft, ambient little tracks of just like this congregation that just sounded cozy and nice to live by. And well, it got in my head of, okay, there is only two things that religions love to do more than anything else. Have a potluck and bicker with the other religions. So I'm like, okay, who else could we fight with? And the whole idea of Church of Mothman was sitting there. I mean, Chris, who voices a lot of the Mothman people, is just very enthusiastic about the whole thing. So it started off as just like a little playful rivalry of like, ooh, they hate each other. And that just kept building back and forth as a strange little C-plot going on in the background of everything, until finally you get to the church fight episode, where it's just joke after joke, just being thrown at it until it all comes to a head. And honestly, I think it was really fun, just like a delightful little distraction from everything that was going on in the season. So yeah. Let's talk about Jeremy Johnson, the man in the fog. Back when I was writing season 1, he was one of the vague, mysterious characters that I wanted to play with. All I really knew about him at the time is just his description of what he looked like, and that he had some connection to the mayor and he was trying to find something related to her. For the longest time, he was just some mysterious cryptid that would come in and out every now and then, depending on what he was up to. I didn't really have a purpose with him until I was like halfway through with all the Bella Jewel planning stuff, where it made sense what he was and who he was searching for. So to clarify, or just lay it out for anyone who might be wondering, the whole story of Jeremy Johnson is that he's a sad and lonely guy who lost a friend that was very dear to him, and then spent a solid decade or so in a magical place that turned him from just a regular guy into a cryptid. The person he was before is gone. There is no going back. And even towards the end of the season, we just see his powers start to explode, where he is physically tearing the city apart with his fog and everything else. He's in the city now looking for revenge. Bella Jewel's gone. There's nothing left there to save. So his entire motivation is to tear the mayor down and to get retribution and set things right. He's partially satisfied after having Bella Jewel's notes out in the open, but what his plans after that are hard to say. We'll note, however, that whoever he's aligned with or whatever he's planning in the future, well, you'll just have to wait to see. We definitely haven't seen the last of Jeremy. He still has a role to play, be it of his own free will or being somebody else's puppet. He's definitely not done with the series yet. One of the biggest struggles I had while writing through the episodes was finding a good balance between cozy and kind of funny to creepy and haunting. In the past, I had introduced a few little spooky elements, just sort of sprinkling them in there. But this season, I feel just like took that to some new heights. We have a couple of episodes and a couple of moments where you really just feel that horror set in. Blaine almost getting kidnapped by the shadows, the entire marina getting lost behind the doors, just everything about that, even just the haunted hotel and all these little bits. It was really tricky trying to keep a lot of that same familiar cozy environment while also introducing a lot of these darker themes. But in the long run, I think it's good that I started introducing more and more now, especially when things are going forward. This season was meant to be sort of a transition point in a lot of ways from what Dreamgirl City's been in the past to all the big plot twists and things that were in my initial planning and notes. And you see that transition from a lot of the same calm and chipper atmosphere to something a little scarier, a little darker, and a little spookier. I'm still going to try to find that balance going forward. And of course, storytelling with poems, which has always been interesting. I don't think anyone really realizes just how much you can get done through using rhythm and poems and format. You give yourself restrictions and rules that you have to play by, and that's really where your creativity has a chance to shine. And so far, I think that all of you have enjoyed my storytelling through this, and I hope you're picking up on the little bits and pieces I've left behind. Honestly, throughout the first couple of seasons of everything that I've given you, you could probably piece together exactly where the third season is going to go. I like to leave bits and pieces there for those who like to theorize, and for others who don't and just want to come along for the ride, welcome. I hope you enjoy your stay, and I hope you're not too terrified. There's a lot more to come, both in the scary stuff department, but also in the fun moments departments. So, I hope you'll stick around and enjoy the ride. Overall, this season has been very fun to write, to act, to produce, and a big part of that has been all of you supporting us and really stepping in, giving comments, sharing this, theorizing, getting the word out every single week. It's nice to be able to just give this out to all of you and to find that audience. Because I know there's some representation things that don't really get out there a lot. I mean, how many other media things are out there where you get an aromantic protagonist and that's only one small aspect of her life? Or with Blaine's story, I know that's a struggle that too many of us can relate to. And it's just comforting to be able to put all of that out there so that somebody can feel seen and to just feel heard for just a moment. Because that's one of the powers of art, to be able to put our different experiences out there, to connect with things that are like us and also unlike us. And it's also fun to just have something kind of relaxing, kind of cozy, where you can come in from a long day of work and just listen to a nice little jazzy poem or two. I've had a fantastic time, and thank you so much for all of you putting in. Just day in and day out, we're so grateful. I'm excited for all the things that are to come, but before we do that, there's going to be a hiatus. We'll be back on March of 2023 with more audio. This is just because I need time to record stuff, to edit stuff, to make sure that I can get something of high quality to all of you, because you deserve it. So, hopefully, March is what we're shooting for. However, if things get tense, we will continue to update you as best you can. So check the Facebook, check the Tumblr, check all of our social media things. We're also going to be doing a lot more stuff there, and I'm really excited to see how it's going to go. In the meantime, however, for however this is going to go, thank you, and I hope you'll stay tuned. There's more to come soon. Bam, 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 bam. Also, yes, stay tuned, because I may not have a lot, but I do have a little sneak peek for what's coming next season, so I hope you all enjoy. I'll see you in March.
Is this thing working? Yeah, the light's blinking, so I guess we're on. Alright then, let's jump in. My name's Blaine. I'm a producer at a radio station here in the city. What city? I don't know. There's no real name. Nobody seems to know. It's just the city. Which works, for the most part, because it's the only city, as far as the eye can see. But still, it's really weird. Like, names denote purpose. They denote history, reason. Without a name, how do you make sense of anything? You know, that's actually a pretty perfect summary of what it's like to be here. This place is 1,000 little mysteries, all wrapped up in a pastel ribbon. Everything. From the people on the streets to the jazzy music that's somehow always playing. It all points back to unanswered questions that keep piling up over and over. Where are we? How did we get here? Where did I come from? It all just goes on, and I'm doing the best I can to make sense of it. So far, that's involved a couple of crazy and hectic years looking through everything I can get my hands on. There have been a few challenges, you know, for a place as calm and comforting as this. You'd be surprised how dangerous things get when you start poking around. The city's done its best to stop me, and yet here we are. And I'm too fixated to stop at this point, so we're just gonna keep going until everything's been brought to light. So yeah, it's that special time of day And here we are together again. Let's go.